So I'm recording this as part of questions asked by one of our clients. How does the green card process work? Um, and this client is a person heavily involved in the academics as well as the industry. So what I started by telling was, first of all, once you get your green card, after a few months, you can change employers, you can start your own business, you can even go into a different business altogether. So let's say that you are a physicist, but you want to start a McDonald's franchise. That's up to you. Because once you get a green card after a certain number of months, as long as you did not have a preconceived intention to just completely change over, if opportunities present themselves after 6 months or so, even if they are in a completely different field, that should be okay. Government has a problem if somebody gets a green card with always the intention of quitting that field and going somewhere else. I don't think even then they can create a problem, but that is definitely a grayish area. So bottom line, once you get a green card after a few months, if you change to something totally different, change employers, go into business for yourself, all of that is allowed. Now, if you are India born, unfortunately, the problem is because there are so many people ahead of you, you could end up waiting 10, 12, 15 years for a green card under EB2 or EB3 category, which is employment-based category 2, employment-based category 3. A lot of people go for EB1A category or EB1B if you have a full-time job as a researcher. So EB1 categories are much faster, 3, 4 years life cycle typically, but they're also uncertain. There's no guarantee that you'll be able to obtain that green card. So many people combine these approaches, and they often do this. You can file a green card if the employer is willing to do it through labor certification process, PERM process, which is the employer's application. You are just the intended beneficiary. You have no rights over that application. If they want to quit, they can quit at any time. But let's say that your PERM is approved. Okay, PERM approval can take a couple of years approximately from when you get started. The moment you file the PERM, which can be about a year into the process, if ultimately your next step after the PERM, which is I-140, is approved, that priority date becomes your property. What is priority date? That is your place in the queue of waiting Indians, if you're India born. Okay. So if you procure and secure an earlier priority date, that would make it possible for you to transfer the priority date to EB1 later if you want. So what does that do? So let's say we filed your PERM in 2025. PERM was approved in 27, I-140 was approved. It will carry the priority date of 2025. Then later on, you became qualified for an EB1A, which is top 10, 15% people in the country in your profession, or EB1B, a researcher who is internationally recognized. You can actually transfer the date from the 2025 petition to something you file, let's say, in 2027. So that does help you save a lot of time. A lot of people do that. So you can procure an earlier date either with the employer's cooperation and for them to file for you, or you can file yourself. Some people can qualify for something like a national interest waiver, for which you don't need an employer. Unfortunately, though, it is still under EB2 category. So we have discussed the option of PERM-based, which can be EB2 or EB3. We've discussed the option of extraordinary ability top 10% in your profession, which is EB1A, or we have discussed about EB1B, which is researcher. For people who are in the corporate world, there's an EB1C category where they have worked outside the US for 1 year as an executive managerial employee. They get a very easy green card. So if that option is available, that you are working for a company with a branch or a parent company in another country, you can be transferred there for 1 year. And that puts you in the EB1C category, which is that all EB1 categories are pretty fast. Couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years, not bad at all. Okay. So, and we've discussed about transferring I-140, a priority date, from one category to another. And this can be done unlimited number of times. That priority date belongs to you. Okay. And Once the I-140 is approved, even if you leave the employer, you carry the priority date with you, even if they revoke your I-140. Okay, so you got the PERM done, you got the I-140 done, or you got the I-140 approval through national interest waiver. That priority date is yours to keep from case to case to case. Okay, let me look at the rest of the questions. So, which green card path would be more efficient? So again, there is certainty and there is speed. Uh, Cases that are more certain are PERM-based cases, labor certification-based cases. We have a little bit better predictability because we know what the job market looks like. The employer usually can tell us. And if we don't have sufficient qualified US workers, that green card is far more secure. But national interest waiver, EB-1A, EB-1B, these are always difficult to predict. EB-1C, which is the international managers and executives, is a lot more certain as well. The application steps and timelines. This is, again, we are looking at the overall horizon because going by the steps can be deceptive if you are trying for any one of them, EB1A, even EB1 ABC, national interest waiver, or PERM-based cases. What the goal is to get to the end as quickly as possible. The process can take 1 year, 2 years. We don't really care about the process. We care about getting to the end goal. So times can be different for different kinds of cases. So for example, EB1A, EB1B, EB1C, and national interest waiver, you could always apply premium processing and get an answer relatively quickly and know where you stand. Even though you don't get the green card, you could get the approval for the green card. Okay. For PERM-based cases, it takes a couple of years to get to just the I-140 approval stage, which is where your priority date becomes secure. If you change employer after getting an I-140 approval, for example, with the employer-bound cases like EB1, EB2, and even EB3, then you can only carry your priority date. But EB1 and national interest waiver, if they are independent of your employer, which often can be, you don't have to start the green card over again as long as you are staying in your own field. For EB1B, which is a researcher or professor, because it is tied to a particular employer and it's an employer's application, you would have to start all over, but you can carry your priority date if the I-140 is approved. Once sponsored by an employer, how restricted am I in terms of work? Can I work for multiple employers while the green card is processing? No, not unless the employer is okay with you having multiple employers on, for example, concurrent H-1B. Green card process does not give you the option to work until the very last step. So you're not going to get work authorization or employment authorization. And even then, if the current employer says you can't work with multiple people, you could have a contract-related issues. You don't have any immigration-related issue. We can get work authorization for multiple employers through concurrent H-1Bs. Then you talked about after receiving my green card, am I allowed to start my own business? All that I've covered. What is the typical duration of a green card? So green card gets you 10 years. The important thing is to maintain your permanent residence in the United States. The green card is forever. After 5 years of green card, you can actually get your naturalization. And once you get your naturalization, you can live anywhere in the world and still be a US citizen. But green card will be abandoned if you are gone for 1 year or more. If you're gone for more than 6 months, the government can question very closely, have you abandoned your permanent residence in the United States? So this is the way it is covered. I'm going to stop recording now